for your presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure and privilege to be part of this conference. Thank you, Dr. Shijit, for the kind words. I think we can go ahead with the presentation.
One key to success is to have lunch at the time of the day most people have breakfast. Good afternoon, I am Dr. Adarshita and welcome to my presentation. Say you have a whole box of unsliced pizza. Slice it in half and you get 2 slices of pizza. That leaves you with 1 slice less. But it's a slice that can be shared with someone else. Less is more or less. Comprehensive review on number of implants in fixed partial prosthesis. Dental implants have played an integral role in the management of partially edentulous patients. Although long-term clinical success has been widely established, the clinical outcome is influenced by factors that guide clinicians to select the most appropriate surgical and prosthodontic approach. The most crucial determining factor is the number of implants required. This presents a conflict between 1 implant per missing tooth and an implant retained bridge. Another factor is the prosthodontic component used, that is, a splinted restoration or a non-splinted restoration. Let me summarize these factors that influence the long-term clinical outcome. It can be an implant-related factor or a prosthodontic factor. And an implant-related factor, it can be either completely supported by implants or it is a tooth implant-supported prosthesis. In implant-supported prosthesis, it can be 1 implant per missing tooth, an implant-retained bridge, or FPDs with cantilever extensions. And the prosthetic options include splinted crowns, non-splinted crowns, and implant-supported bridge. So my research question is, does the number of implants play a role in the long-term clinical outcome of implant-supported fixed dental prosthesis replacing a 3-unit edentulous area? While talking about 3-unit edentulous area, we have 3 options: 3 non-splinted crowns, 3 splinted crowns. In these 2 options, we are using 3 implants to replace 3 missing teeth. And the third option is a 3-unit implant-supported bridge, where we use 2 implants to replace 3 missing teeth. So let's comprehend the data from all around the world. That's what I tried to do during this literature review. It seems like implant-supported bridge are the most ideal long-term therapeutic solution in rehabilitating a 3-unit edentulous area. Let's analyze this fact, taking 1 parameter at a time. A recent long-term retrospective study reported increased success rate and reduced implant failure rate in relation to implant-supported bridges as compared to splinted restorations or non-splinted restorations. In other words, non-splinted crowns are at 289% greater risk of implant-related complications And splintered crowns is at 168% higher risk of developing implant-related complications than compared to implant-supported bridges. Peri-implantitis, it's a complex multifactorial disease. And we all know that it is influenced by patient genetics, immune system activation, poor surgery, smoking, and of course, adverse loading conditions. An implant associated with an implant-supported bridge showed to be at a significantly reduced risk of developing peri-implantitis. That is around 95.4% less risk as opposed to that having a splintered prosthesis. And one more factor is that the middle implant in a splintered restoration has got more chance of developing peri-implantitis. And about prosthodontic complications, a patient with implant-supported bridge demonstrated reduced risk of complications by up to 68% when compared to non-splintered crowns. And while comparing splintered restorations and non-splintered restorations, splintered crown showed a reduced risk for prosthodontic complications. And of course, the cost factor, that is, the total cost of the ISP group was significantly lower than the other two groups. It is not only because we need one implant less, that reduces the initial cost definitely, but it also the cost of complication management was less in relation to implant supported bridges. So with less peri-implantitis rate, more survival and success rates, and less prosthodontic complications, implant supported bridges are having a very better long-term clinical outcome. So it's a big concept. If we can achieve something more with less number of implants, it's definitely a big concept. A comparative cohort study also reported that the two implant-supported partial prostheses exhibited long-term clinical performance comparable to prostheses supported by 3 implants. Another parameter studied is the load distribution among implants. In this particular study, they used a piezoelectric transducer to study about the load distribution among implants. They have used 4 configurations of implant-supported FPDs. In the first one, 3 implants are supporting 3 missing teeth. And in the second one, 2 implants supporting an implant-supported bridge. And the third and the fourth are cantilever designs. And they concluded that 3 implant-supported prostheses and 2 implant-supported bridges are biomechanically beneficial designs in terms of the equally distributed occlusal loads on supporting implants. And they are not advocating the use of cantilever designs. The biomechanical effects of the configuration of implant-supported FPDs on the peri-implant bone were investigated in silico using finite element analysis. This is the FP model construction used in one of the articles. In the first one, they used 3 implants to replace 3 missing tooth. Second one is an implant-supported bridge, and the third and fourth are cantilever designs. A higher value of VMS, that is von Mises strain, was observed around neck and bottom apexes of the implants than around the middle regions. The higher VMS is also observed in a larger area around the implant adjacent to a cantilever. A higher value of EQS, that is equivalent strain, is observed around the bottom apexes of the implants. And in the neck areas, the higher magnitudes are noticeably present at the cantilever extension side of the implant. A higher peri-implant VMS corresponds to an increased damage to osseointegration. The VMS distribution suggested that implant adjacent to cantilever is most prone to loss of osseointegration. And they also commented that 3 implant FPDs and 2 implant FPDs are biomechanically favorable designs for replacing 3 missing teeth. This is another interesting study in which they have studied 3 to 4 unit FPD supported by 2 implants and 2 splintered crowns supported by 2 implants. They studied the peri-implant bone loss, and it seems to be like the icing on the cake, because replacing 4 missing teeth with 2 dental implants can provide a successful treatment outcome with no statistically significant influence on peri-implant bone loss. And it becomes more relevant as it is published in a very recent article published in the Journal of Prosthetic Dentistry. The present results suggest that it may not be necessary to place more than 2 implants to replace 3 or 4 adjacent missing teeth. And this approach would reduce both economic cost and surgical time. Now let's address the next question: to splint or not to splint. Researchers have demonstrated comparable marginal bone loss changes in splinted and non-splinted restorations. And the benefit of load sharing by the splinted crowns is notable only when the implants on the premolar and molar regions have different supporting ability. That means if you are using a standard sized implant in relation to the premolar and a wider implant in the molar, then only there is a benefit of load sharing. And the biomechanical advantages of using a single wide implant or 2 implants are almost identical, as demonstrated by a 3-dimensional finite element analysis. This is especially true in case of molars. While replacing molar, we have a confusion whether we have to use a wider implant or 2 implants if there is more than sufficient space. And the study won't be complete without analyzing the effect of the jaws on peri-implant bone loss. And this article published in the Journal of Prosthetic Dentistry described that peri-implant bone loss is similar in both maxilla and mandible. Tooth implant supported fixed prosthesis. I know this is a hot potato, that's why I kept it for the end. Let's see what researchers have to say about this. In this particular study, they have done finite element analysis in 3 different configurations of TIFP. In the first model, a non-rigid connector was used near the implant site, and the second model, they used a non-rigid connector near the natural tooth, and in the third model, it is a rigid connector. And they have concluded that the non-rigid connector placed on the implant abutment site reduces the stress around the implant and the natural tooth, increasing the lifespan of both. But a meta-analysis reported increased failure rate for tooth implant supported fixed prosthesis.
ക്ഷീണമായിട്ടുണ്ടോ? കിടക്കണമെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഒന്ന് കിടന്നോളൂ. ഫാൻ വേണോ?
Close that bridge only when you come to it. This decision making is not a piece of cake, especially when it comes to implant. An accurate diagnosis and proper treatment planning make implant treatment a long-term success. Socioeconomic status is one of the factors determining the treatment planning, but other factors like age of the patient, quality and quantity of the bone, other systemic diseases, and opposing occlusion, all these factors should also be taken into consideration. Based on all these, a workable treatment plan should be formulated for the individual patient, which solves the chief complaint of the patient, provides a good functional and aesthetic result, and is expected to function a long duration of time. This literature review offers new perspectives for implant-supported fixed prosthesis and points out areas for further research. As literature reviews often fail to provide details of the overall research strategy, further long-term research and systematic meta-analysis are also required to confirm the results of the study. And to conclude with, I hope this review provided a fundamental understanding of the factors determining long-term clinical outcomes and also local biomechanical responses of bone to different configurations of 3-unit implant-supported FPD, which may provide clinicians with meaningful insights into the preclinical assessment during treatment planning. Less is not necessarily more. Just enough is more. My references. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to IPS Kerala State Branch and the organizing team, IPS Kerala State Conference 2021, for giving me this platform. Thank you so much.
For this
Thank
example session.
thank you,
Adarshita
Adarsh.
from the chairperson, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Adarshita, for a wonderful presentation. Okay, you mean to say that less number of implants, more success rate, right?
Yes, sir. Most of the studies are saying like that. But other factors like occlusion and age of the patient, all these factors should also be taken into consideration.
Okay. And when you compare the tooth and implant supported FPDs, how much is the survival rate of implants? When
You asked about tooth and implant supported
FPDs.
restorations.
Restorations.
Actually, one meta-analysis revealed that its failure rate is more than 1.75, like that. But there are a lot of other studies which report most tooth implant models offer a higher degree of osseointegration. That is, it is able to stimulate the cortical bone more. Such studies are also there. So it's really a controversial subject.
Okay. Oh, and most of the studies are showing that the cantilever type of FPDs are not in favor for implants, right?
Yeah, I have considered most of the studies are in the posterior region. Actually, in the anterior region, they are advocating in some cases, we can go for a cantilever to replace lateral incisor.
Okay.
That is okay. Other in cases, especially in the posteriors, better to avoid cantilevers.
Cantilever. Okay. There is a question from Dr. Harini. What are the issues when we splint implant to the tooth?
When we splint implant to the tooth, I think we all are aware about that. The mobility of tooth and the implant have a great difference. About 5 to 20 times more mobile is tooth compared to the implant. So there will be chances of more stress about the peri-implant bone. So it can be interpreted in two ways. Some studies are saying it is stimulating more bond formation, and some studies are saying it can be not that good for osseointegration.
So which one you recommend?
I recommend it depends on the situation. If we are going to replace a molar with the support of a natural premolar, I am not recommending that. It is better to go for a shortened arch concept.
Okay. Any questions from the audience, participants? Any questions? Can I just put it in the chat box? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Adarshita.